Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I'll be breaking down the first week of September, as you can see, starting from 2nd of September 2024, as I have been backtesting for over a year now, and I have backtested every single candle from the weekly to the daily to the 4 hourly to the hourly till the 15 minutes. Every single candle I have backtested, so I have built an intuition with the markets, as you guys know, which I'm using in the live markets. Clearly we can see my weekly bias going to the next week is clearly bearish. It's clearly bearish according to how this weekly candle closed on GBP USD, and my bias will be bearish to fill up this weekly fair value gap right around here, and my targets will be this draw of liquidity right around here. And on DXY my bias is clearly bullish. If my bias is bearish on GBP USD, my bias is bullish on DXY to fill up this weekly fair value gap right around here, right? And also also DXY is reacting off of this demand right here on the weekly time frame, which is valid due to this change of character. There is a weekly bullish candle right around here, so my bias for the next week is bullish, and this is my draw of liquidity if I'm bullish, right? So that was the weekly analysis, the previous weekly candle. The supply demands I will not show you as of now. And if I show you the news quickly, and throughout the news, it was an NFP week. Monday no news, Tuesday it was ISM manufacturing PMI, Wednesday JOLTS job opening, Thursday it was ADP non-farm employment change, and Friday it was average hourly earnings month over month. So those were the news. So that is when I go to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame you can clearly see the weekly bias is bearish. The daily time frame on Friday was clearly bearish, so on Monday I will be looking for sells, because my weekly and the daily bias are aligning. Whenever my weekly and the daily bias are aligning, that is when I look for a potential trade on Monday, right? So that is our rule. And according to how this Friday candle closed on DXY, I'm literally looking for a buy opportunity on DXY, and on GU it will be a sells, right? So on the 4 hourly time frame we can clearly see the market change character right around here. You can argue right around here the market change character, break of structure. So this was the price action. So obviously on Monday I was looking for sells. So if I was looking for sells, I would look for sells from some sort of supply zone. So there was a clear supply zone on the M30, which was this one, and when the price entered this supply zone, it was our timing, which was 7 to 10 a.m. UK time. So that is when we tend to enter the trades, and we entered a trade. It was a beautiful 1:3. We got our 1:3, as you can see. Okay, so we didn't got our 1:3, but it was a winner. And also on this day it was a US bank holiday, as I have referred it. It was a US bank holiday on Monday, so it was also very tricky to trade because of that. So that was Monday for you guys, and now going on Tuesday, right? So let me open the daily time frame. According to how this Monday candle closed on Tuesday, I will look for buys again on GBP USD, which would be sells on DXY, I believe. Yes, the bias was not one of the clearest on DXY, sorry, on Tuesday. So what I didn't took the trade on Tuesday. I just didn't took the trade on Tuesday because my bias was not clear. So that gives me a, whenever the bias is not clear, you don't need to force a trade. That I've learned through backtesting, right? So going on Wednesday now, there is a news called ISM JOLTS job opening, and also the bias now is clearly not one of the clearest, but it is bearish on GBP USD because of how that candle closed. Yes, you can argue buying happened at the end of the day, but I don't consider that. My bias was not clean, to be honest, and if I was looking for something, it would be sells on GBP USD and buys on DXY. So that is when I go to the lower time frames like H4. There was a new break of structure. This was the new supply zone right around here. So going on the H1 to look for zones to trade from, there was a beautiful supply zone right around there. So I waited for the Asian range to close, and after the Asian range closed, I marked this M30 supply zone again, because on the H1 the supply zone, okay, so there was also a supply zone on the H1, but I marked the M30 because of how this candle closed. And the move did happen on London session, right? So on London session the move did happen, the MAC model did play out on the 11:30, we can see, but it happened a little bit later than our anticipated timing. That is the exact reason why I didn't took this trade. I waited for the London session to play out, and after the London session played out something like this, not in our favor, that is when I tend to trade New York. Whenever the London session doesn't give us our anticipated move with the bias, and the bias is clear, that is when I tend to trade. This was an A class setup, to be honest. Higher time frame bias was not clear. To be genuinely honest, the daily bias was not clear. If I in the live market, I would I would not take this trade, I believe. And if I took this trade, the supply zone mitigation, the inducement, M15 rejection, everything we want to see in a trade, lower time frame entry signal, everything we want to see in a trade was present here, right? So this was a loss taken on Wednesday. I've also journaled this trade if you want to have a better look into this trade. So now going on to the next day, which is Thursday. So now, according to how this Wednesday candle closed, my bias on Thursday is not one of the clearest, but I would look for buys. Buys look more strong for me, and on DXY we can clearly see. Wednesday closed as a bearish candle right here. So on Thursday I would look for sells, right? So which gave us our bias, which gave so much reasoning to our bias being bearish on DXY and bullish on GBP USD. So that is when I go to the H4 to look for some change of characters. So there was a change of character here on the H4 time frame, as you can see, but I have not marked it, but I can see it because of my experience in the markets, because of my relentless backtesting. Every day I have been backtesting for months now, so obviously you improve with time. So obviously I waited for the Asian range to close, and after the Asian range closes, if I'm looking for buy, I am looking for a demand zone, right? So I was looking for this sort of demand zone on the H1, but obviously according to how this according to this volume right here, I went to the M15, marked this demand zone right here, which we lost the trade. It was a flip zone, supply zone flip to demand zone. As you can see, the move did happen. The Asian high liquidity sweep, Asian high liquidity got swept. We could have taken this sell right here, but I am not interested in that sell. The price came down, swept the Asian low, and the previous day low, swept the Asian low, and after sweeping the Asian low, it didn't even took the 230 candle, so I didn't took this trade. But in the live markets, maybe I would have not taken this trade, but it was also SMT. There was also SMT with DXY, so it made so much of sense to take this trade, and this trade was a winner if I took it. Literally our target got hit to the T, but the only downside to this trade was the 230 candle didn't get swept and the demand zone didn't get mitigated. So that was the only downside to this trade. Otherwise everything we want to see in a trade was here. So that is when I go to Friday, right? This was the Thursday candle right around here. So according to how this Thursday candle closed, now on Friday I'm looking for buys again, and when I align my bias with GU bias being bullish, so DXY should be bearish, right? So there was a fair value gap right around here. On Friday I'm looking forward to sell to enter this demand zone. So on GU I'm looking for buys. The same concept again. Go to the lower time frame to look for some change of character, break of structures, and on the 4 hourly, literally it started to make an uptrend right around here from here. So this was on 4 hourly there was nothing cleaner. That is when I go to the H1. On the H1 we can see some sort of demand zone right around there. After the Asian range has closed, that is when I mark the demand zones. And the demand zone, there was no clean demand zones, as you can see. So on the M30 also there was no clean demand zones, and whenever there is no clear demand zones, as I've written here, again in SMT with DXY, SMT literally works perfectly. There was SMT with DXY to take the previous day high on GU, which played out to the T, and also the order block was very far. Asian range setup made sense in this trade, right? So that was what I was anticipating. It was an Asian range setup. Asian low did got swept. I drew my Fibonacci retracement. I entered at the OT level right here. Quarter 1:3, beautiful risk to reward. So this week overall, if I followed my daily bias, was a profitable week. As you can see, we took a loss, we took 2 wins right here. If I followed my MAC model right around there, and a break even / a winner also on Monday. So this strategy is literally perfect for us to pass prop firms and also make significant amount of returns in the markets, right? So let me show you the call out that I've written. SMTs are very good, as you can see right around here, and confluences, as we can see, they work very, very well. Yes, and often they work. Literally I have seen SMTs work very, very much with my own eyes, and those are very good confluences before taking a trade. Those give us literally so much of confidence before taking the trade. This is the reason why trading news is so tricky. Even if the setup is picture perfect, but there is news, there is always an in the trade, right? So the 100% agreed. Wednesday we did got the move, but there were no clear zones to trade from, so we didn't do the trade. Simple as that. But I did took the trade because to fill up my journal, obviously the backtesting. But in the live market I would not have taken the trade. Whenever there is a clear zone to trade from, we do take the MAC model. Whenever there is no zones to trade from, that is when we look for the MAC model. For example, whenever you have a clear zone, demand zone to trade for example, so why you want the demand zone to get mitigated for a bigger picture, right? But whenever that zone is very far away, meaning the demand zone is here, the Asian range did something like this, and the volume is very high, the previous day's volume is very high, that is when I look for some sort of Asian range setup, because it doesn't make sense to go to the demand zone. And one more thing, whenever there is no demand zone, that is when I will look for Asian range setup. But whenever there is a zone, clear zone to trade from, that is when I look for a zone to get mitigated. And other than that, make models work, and you can look for them if you want to. God save, due to give our stop loss room to breathe, as we can see. So always give our stop loss room to breathe according to the size of the Asian range. Monday was a bank holiday in US, so we didn't took the trade. So these were the call outs, the beautiful weekly breakdown video, no bullshit, literally on to the point. It was NFP, and I also showed you the news, as you guys have seen. It was NFP week, so it was very, very tricky. So on to the next week now. We are getting so much closer to finishing our backtesting. After I finish my backtesting, it's literally front test journal until and unless I become profitable and pass my prof firm. Soon you're gonna get that news of me passing prof firms left, right, and center. Trust me, I trust in myself, I trust in God, and the rest will be history.